It's 2003, February 6th. A certain classic album just come out to run things, kill the competition, and set a new precedent.
Who that?
It's Get Rich or Die Tryin'.
I knew it!
This episode's all about that album on FHO Fresh Hip Hop Opinion with your guy Oleezeh. If this album came out in 2003, it was the largest debuting album for an artist since Snoop's album, which was Doggy Stylin' in 1993-94. The album sold 12 million albums worldwide just in 2003 and 9 million in the US. Big album.
Impressive.
It had 16 tracks, 5 singles. The singles were the mega hit In the Club, which was the Dr. Dre produced beat, 21 Questions featuring Nate Dogg, rest in peace from Nate Dogg, PIMP, which also had a remix with Snoop Dogg, and then it had If I Can't, which was the last single, but then it had the pretty much the iconic, which was also 50 Cent's favorite song on the album, Many Men, Wish Death Upon. In the Club was the biggest song, most iconic song. I think it passed, I think it was 1 billion streams recently. But that song is basically replaced the normal Happy Birthday song by Stevie Wonder. That's how big that song is. For the younger generation, that's the song you play when it's someone's birthday. 21 Questions is just a classic love song. It was kind of creative as well because it literally was 21 questions he's asking this female in the song. That's actually one of my favorite rap songs of all time, actually, because it just never gets old. No matter when you listen to it, it's just a good song to listen to. PIMP was obviously a very commercial sounding song. If I Can't was a bit of a harder record, but yeah, it was a good song as well. I mean, there was no skips on this album. You know, this album was pretty flawless. I mean, the only song I personally skipped was, I think the song was called, what was it called now?
I don't know.
It was called Poor Little Rich. That featured Eminem and Lloyd Banks. I wasn't a big fan of that song. That is a song I do remember. I used to skip that one. But every other song was amazing. I mean, my favorite songs were 21 Questions, High All the Time, and Like My Style. I like Patiently Waiting actually as well. That featured Eminem. Yeah, High All the Time, I like that one because of the menacing beat, and a lot of that 50 raps on that was probably some of his best raps on the album. Heat was just a violent track. It was like you just hear gun sound effects, and it was just nuts, that song, man. I like the line at the end when 50's talking and he says something about a bulletproof hat. You might get a bit of concussion, but better than a hole in the head. And he starts laughing. That was a really good song. And then Back Down was another favorite of mine, actually. That was the obvious Ja Rule diss song, which ended kind of Ja Rule's whole career.
It's over.
That was very funny and very also lyrical song against Ja Rule. Like My Style was a good one as well. I think it's a very underrated song on the album. Up-tempo kind of song, like a light-hearted song. And then Tony Yayo had a little feature on there when he just says like, 50, you need some help? So he's not actually rapping on that album because he was incarcerated at the time. But yeah, this album was hella hot. Some people's top 5, top 10 albums of all time. I wouldn't say it's in my top 5, but I mean, it was crazy.
That's crazy.
It was a crazy album. This album alone probably outsold some of your favorite rappers' whole catalog at the time. Like Nas hadn't sold up to 12 million at that point. He hadn't sold that many albums in his whole career. 50 did it in his first album, which was nuts. Obviously 50 was on one of the biggest labels at the time, signing with Dre, Dr. Dre and Eminem, and being under Interscope Records as well. So he had a big machine behind him, but still to sell 12 million albums worldwide is insane. A couple things I saw online and heard over time anyway about 50's album was 21 Questions was actually inspired by LL Cool J, and also a female, because 50 was basically sitting in a car with a female, and an LL Cool J song came on, and he saw basically that the female was getting into it and really loved the song, and 50 basically said to himself he wanted to make a song that he can get females to have that type of reaction. So that's what inspired him to do 21 Questions. And even the people in Interscope, his label, like Dr. Dre as well, they didn't understand why 50 wanted that song. They were like, nah, I don't want that on the album. Another fact, well, not fact really, but this is quite a known thing that happened during that whole Get Rich or Die Tryin', is that when he was doing the music video for In the Club, Suge Knight from Death Row Records, he basically had beef with Dr. Dre. So when they're on the In the Club set, basically Suge Knight comes to the set, and the word is that everyone says, oh, Suge Knight's outside. Suge Knight's outside. Everyone starts running, and you know, a lot of people start running because they know he's like a violent guy.
You're in danger.
He was basically looking for Dr. Dre because he had beef with Dr. Dre. But yeah, I'm gonna keep this nice and short and sweet for you guys this week, okay? But I thought to myself, it's 2023, and that album came out 20 years ago, which is nuts to say. And it wouldn't be right if Fresh Hip Hop Opinion didn't do a little thing for that album, especially if it was out like literally 20 years this month. Yeah, it was a 16-track album. Everything was blazing, no skips at all on this album, except for the one I mentioned earlier. But even that song was alright still. But yeah, it's a hip-hop iconic album. It's up there with Illmatic, All Eyes on Me, any album you could think of, Death Certificate. This album's up there. Critically acclaimed, commercially successful. Still, you can play it. I play it all the time in the gym. You know what I mean? It's a great album. Get Rich or Die Tryin'. Salute, FHO salutes you. Fresh Hip Hop Opinion. Tune in next time. Peace. Love.